The South African Revenue Service has been ordered to hand over former President Jacob Zuma's tax records to amaBhungane and the Financial Mail within 10 days. SARS unsuccessfully arguing for taxpayers' confidentiality, but the court ruled that public interest in this case trumped the right to privacy. I'm joined now by Advocacy Coordinator at the amaBhungane Center for Investigative Journalism, Cherese Thakur. Cherese, thank you very much for your time. There is an obvious question that I'm going to come to you with, and that is that the former president decided that he was not going to actually challenge this in court. That may have led to what has happened now. But what I want to start with is, once your team of journalists, once your team of investigative journalists get their hands on this information, what is their immediate plan?
Well, there's definitely a lot that we suspect is in that information, so our team of investigative journalists will definitely trawl through the records. As you may know, the impetus behind the request for the records were allegations contained in Jacques Pauw's books, The President's Keepers, which there were allegations of malfeasance by the president in relation to compliance with tax laws. And there were other sources of information that corroborated this. So this was the reason why the prior request was initially sent, and that is what we'll be looking for.
Yeah. All right. There is, though, Cherese, an immediate impact here, or an immediate worry that could both actually concern me or you as ordinary taxpayers in South Africa, and that is that ordinarily our information is not supposed to be released to anyone. It is considered private. So, explain to us why you think the court ruled in this manner to say the rights of the former president, well, in this instance, they are going to be trumped by public interest. Surely this got to be a worrying development.
It shouldn't be worrying to the majority of people, precisely for the reason that you mentioned, which is that this is a balancing of rights. So privacy is an important right, but as is access to information in the public interest. So what will happen in this circumstance, and this is what the judgment says, is that Section 46 of the Promotion of Access to Information Act, of PAIA, which contains a public interest override, will apply to these types of requests for information. This is important because the test in Section 46 is very, very stringent. It will not apply for the most part to you or me, or even the person who submits fraudulent disclosures to SARS, or the person who commits an ordinary crime. It has to be a compelling public interest, and that is the legal hurdles that has to be overcome in order to access these records. In this case, you can see it was a former head of state at the time he was president, though, and there's allegations that he did not comply with our country's tax laws. That is very, very serious and concerning to the public. In addition, there were the allegations that Tom Mayani was instituted into SARS to help conceal this. This is the kind of information that will be revealed with the tax records.
Yeah. Earlier, Cherese, on this channel, we spoke to the spokesperson of the Jacob Zuma Foundation, Mzwane Lemanyi, and the conversation centered around, at least from his responses, it centered around how SARS ought to carry this forward, I think were his words. In simple language, he says that, well, it is up to SARS to follow through. They the ones who challenged this in court. Yes, they've lost, but it is incumbent upon them to appeal this in court. And what immediately sprung to mind is, why would former President Jacob Zuma not want to challenge this? His rights, his personal information is about to be made public as to his tax affairs. Any information that you may be aware of from your side as to why the former president chose not to challenge this in court?
This was ultimately his decision, and we can't speculate as to why he made that decision. The court principle is audi alteram partem. You have to hear the other side. He was given an opportunity to present his views in court, in the High Court proceedings, and he elected not to. So he has to stand by that decision. It would be very unusual for the Constitutional Court to entertain an appeal from him. And I suspect that's why they've, the Jacob Zuma Foundation is insinuating that it's for SARS to take forward, because if they were to win an appeal, this would naturally benefit former President Zuma. But that is the circumstances. You make an election to abide or to oppose, and he'll have to live with that.
Finally, if that information does not reach you within the 10 days that the court has instructed, what's your plan?
Well, we would be legally entitled to that information, so we'd be able to enforce that order of the court through further legal proceedings, which we'd definitely look at doing.
Cherese Thakur, she is the Advocacy Coordinator at amaBhungane Center for Investigative Journalism. Thank you very much for your time and clarity on this matter.